Hey guys, it's your girl Miss Jennifer. Today I am going to be doing my take on a dish that I saw, but I'm going to do my own version and I'm just going to share it with you guys. It's very tasty. It's going to be, I call it cheesy, they're going to be some cheesy shrimp and andouille sausage shells. So I'm going to cook my shrimp separate of this dish because I don't want them to overcook in the pan. So what I did quickly here, I took some shrimp, peeled them, they're already deveined, threw some butter in this pan. So this is seasoned with the Old Bay and some garlic powder with parsley. And I'm going to throw a little bit of red pepper on them too before I put them in the oven. They're going to go in the oven on about 360 and cook for about 20 minutes. So while I'm cooking everything else, they will be in the oven. And I'm going to throw the shrimp in towards the end when everything else is almost done to keep them from overcooking by cooking them in with the mixture. So I'm going to pop these in the oven and I'm going to go ahead and take you guys over to the skillet that you will need. This is some smoked andouille sausage that I've cut up. I removed the outer casing before I cut it up. You'll also need some bell pepper. If you have onions, go ahead. I'm just out of onions. I'm going to be using the large seashells today. You can use any type of pasta shells. You'll need some cheddar for the end. You will need some chicken stock or chicken broth. Chicken stock is just my preference. Some diced tomatoes and also some heavy cream. Okay, so I've added some EVOO to the pan rather. That is extra virgin olive oil, if you're not familiar. And first thing I'm going to go ahead and add is the bell pepper. Make sure you move them around in the pan a little bit. Don't let them sit idle. You only have to do this and let them sizzle for a few seconds before we go to the next step. So they don't have to cook long by themselves at all. Okay, so those have cooked enough by themselves, only about a minute. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the sausage and let the sausage mix in with the pepper so their flavors can integrate with each other. And also you want to get that sausage time to brown up a little bit and cook before we add the liquid ingredients. That, of course, it will finish off cooking in that liquid ingredient, which is our chicken stock. It's also going to be what's used to boil and tenderize our pasta shells. But you do want it to cook, the sausage that is, to cook a little on its own. Sometimes what I do, I add grilled chicken strip, like the fajita chicken strips that come pre-cooked in the bag that you just warm in the pan. You can absolutely do that. So if you want to mix that in with your sausage, you can. I just chose not to do that today. Okay, so I'm going to start moving very quickly now that my sausage has browned up. I wanted to make sure it got browned because I wanted to make sure that it does get cooked thoroughly because this isn't fully cooked sausage. So you can use any sausage you want to, though. It doesn't have to be andouille sausage. So now that that's done, the next step, some people add their seasonings at this point and then mix the shells together with the seasoning. What I'm going to do is go ahead and add the shells. So if you're using the no yolk dumplings, I'm not, but when you use those, you use about, you use the whole bag, which is 12 ounces. This box is 16 ounces of the pasta large seashells. So about 3/4 of that box would be equivalent to 12 ounces, I suppose. So I'm going to mix those in first. If you put your seasoning in the pan right before the shells, at this point, this is when things would get mixed together. I am going to very, very, very lightly add some salt. Not much. This is more so to season the pasta. Remember, we are going to be adding chicken stock, which does have its own flavor to it, and the andouille sausage is also flavored. I'm going to use, I typically wouldn't do this, but because of our shrimp, it will work because of the flavor. I'm going to lightly sprinkle some Old Bay seasoning in here. Not a lot. You don't want to go too crazy with your seasonings because you don't want to end up with salty, with the salty flavor. Remember, when you're cooking anything, it's better to go less than more, because at the end, if it's not enough, you can always go back and add, but you cannot take away. And I'm going to do a little bit of our garlic powder. And last thing is a smidgen of the red pepper. Now I'm going to mix everything together. I have seen this done with Cajun seasoning and the no yolk, but I've tried it with the Cajun seasoning and it was just too salty for me. So I'm going to let that mix together. Now I'm going to add the chicken stock. Ideally between 2 to 2.5 cups of stock. I'm going to start out with 2 cups. And if it's not enough for the amount of pasta shells, then later on, then I would add more. But it looks like it'll be fine. You just need enough to really tenderize the pasta shells. So let that mix in. And then the next step is going to be our diced tomatoes. Use any kind you want. I'm using the one with basil, garlic, and oregano. And I'm not using the entire can. I'm going to use about half of this can. Alright. And then the last thing I'm going to add before I mix it all together is our heavy cream. You can use about 1/2 cup, but just eyeball it based off of your preference, how much you think you should use. Then you're just going to mix it all together. Okay, and once you finish mixing it together, you should have something that looks like this. So it'll be like a very light pinkish orangish color from the tomatoes. Just make sure everything's mixed in well together, and that there's enough liquid in the pan so that those shells will cook. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank up the heat. I'm going to put it on, I've been cooking this on a medium low. Now I'm going to crank it up to a medium temperature. Mine goes from low 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then high. So I was cooking this on a 4, and now I'm going to put it up to about a 6 and put the lid on it so that this can boil a little bit and those shells can cook up and tenderize. So it's going to hang out there. Don't forget to check on your shrimp, because your shrimp maybe get done before your pasta is ready, like mine are going to be. That's fine. Just pull them out the oven so they don't overcook, and put them to the side until this is almost done. Okay, so make sure you uncover and stir occasionally while you're waiting for this to finish up. So this probably has maybe, I don't know, like 5 more minutes for the pasta to finish, and then I'll add in the shrimp. And if you're wondering how long do you need to keep cooking this, we're going to reduce the heat once the pasta's ready, and we're going to let it sit so it can thicken up, just like you do with hamburger helper or something of that nature. So you want most of the liquid evaporated, but it should be still a little bit of sauce in the pan though. Shouldn't be completely dry. And I've removed the shrimp. This is how I make pretty much all of my shrimp in this butter sauce. So that's going to be really, really good when I add that. And I am going to drip some of that butter sauce into, not a lot, but I'm going to drip a tablespoon or 2 into this pasta when I do add it. And then once I mix that in, I'll turn the heat off, add the cheese, and let that all come together and thicken. Okay, so I've reduced the heat now, because as you can see, the liquid has cooked up significantly. And we're kind of left with this like little creamy sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and add my shrimp now, and I'm going to reduce my heat to about 3. Alright, so I just put the shrimp on top and put some of that butter dripping in. So now we're just going to mix it up so everything can get mixed up together. And remember, we're cooking it a lot lower now. Don't leave your heat up. Also with the shrimp, mine, because I had some pretty big shrimp, I cooked mine between like 20 to 22 minutes. But be mindful, if you have smaller shrimp, you need to cook them less time. And obviously, if you have larger, it may take a little bit more time. So be mindful of the size shrimp that you have. So I'm just going to let this hang out for maybe like a minute so they can mix together. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat completely off and add the cheese. Okay, so now I have turned the heat completely off. I've added in about a handful of shredded cheese. You can use as much cheese as you want to. I just have to be kind of careful and cautious of my dairy intake, so I'm not going to use too much. Good thing about the Kraft shredded cheese though, it's 0 grams of lactose per serving. So if you stick to the serving size, you may just be all right. I usually can handle their cheddar pretty good with no problems. So the heat is off right now, so you're just mixing that shredded cheese in, and it melts up beautifully because it just came off of the heat. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. I cannot wait to eat it. Look how good that looks. And this is another reason why I add the shrimp at the end, because you don't want your shrimp to overcook and shrivel up if you put it if you add them in the beginning. This is good to go. Like, this is good to go. So these are my cheesy, creamy shrimp and andouille sausage pasta shells. So if you make this, let me know what you think. Do you have a similar dish that you like to make? Tell us all about it. This is just how I do it. If you do it different, that's fine. So let's keep our criticism to a minimum, but this is just something I made for people who sometimes need ideas with something to cook, and it doesn't take long. We're talking about like 25 minutes tops, and I threw some frozen garlic knots in the oven, so those should be ready to come out. So just put this in a bowl, get garlic knots, and I have my kinky wine cooler in the freezer chilling, so this is going to be a great dinner. Until next time, you guys stay blessed. Peace.